What if I told you there's a rapper who every MC from the 90s golden era, the era that built everything you grew up on, credits as the greatest to ever do it?
If we're talking about hip-hop, and we're talking about the greatest of all time, there's no question that I'm sitting in the presence of one of the all-time greatest MCs, and that's Rakim.
The guy Eminem studied, the guy Nas looked up to, the guy Jay-Z learned from before he became Jay-Z. His name is Rakim. He changed the entire way rap was written, but instead of becoming the biggest name in the game, he spent years locked out of his own career by label disputes, lost his prime years to business problems that had nothing to do with his talent, and watched a highly anticipated Dr. Dre collaboration get shelved and never released. This is the story of the greatest lyricist who ever lived, and why most people have never heard of him. William Michael Griffin Jr. is born on January 28, 1968 in Wyandanch, New York, a small town on Long Island where hip-hop is still something you hear about rather than something happening on your block.
It was hard, man. A lot of people from the city ain't take us serious yet, it felt like. You know what I mean? Like, where you from? I'm from Long Island.
He grows up playing saxophone, absorbing jazz, and developing an ear for music that processes rhythm differently than everyone around him. He is also a serious football player, good enough that a college career is a real possibility, and for a while, that's the plan. Music is a hobby. Football is the future. In 1985, a mutual friend named Alvin Toney brings a guy named Eric B to his house. Eric B is building something in the New York hip-hop scene and needs an MC. He makes Rakim an offer designed to remove any friction. Record as a featured artist, not as a signed act. No contract required, just show up and rap.
You know what I mean? So I let Eric B hear that. And, he was like, yo, man, listen, I know Magic and Marley, we can go make a record, such and such. So I told Eric, I didn't really want to do it. So he was like, yo, we can do it where you don't have to sign a contract.
Rakim says yes. That loophole gets him into the industry without giving anything away on paper. It's a small detail that barely registers at the time. Later, it becomes a preview of everything that goes wrong. The first recording session happens at Marley Marl's apartment in Queensbridge, one of the most important rooms in New York hip-hop at the time. Marley Marl wants more energy, more heat, more of what rap is supposed to sound like in 1986. Rakim refuses to change a single thing about his delivery.
He was like, yo, I like what you're doing, but if you could stand up, put a little more energy in it, So I looked at him, I'm like, I could stand up, but it ain't gonna be no more energy in it. I mean, it's gonna come out the same way, bro.
The voice stays exactly where it is, low, controlled, unhurried. That decision changes everything. Rakim has figured out, before anyone else in the game, that rap doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. He writes like a jazz musician, placing words inside a bar the way a saxophone player moves around a beat, landing syllables in unexpected places, building internal rhymes that resolve 3 and 4 words deep. Marley Marl wanted conventional energy and almost talked the greatest MC alive into sounding like everybody else. Rakim walked out of that apartment unchanged, and rap was never the same after it. In 1987, Eric B and Rakim release Paid in Full. The album gets made the way most records got made back then. Late nights in studios around New York, building something from scratch with no guarantee anyone outside the city would care. But when it drops, the reaction is immediate. I Ain't No Joke opens with Rakim warning everyone that what they're about to hear isn't entertainment. It's a declaration. My melody builds bars on top of bars in a way nobody had structured a rap song before. Rappers across the city start rewinding tapes, trying to figure out how he's doing what he's doing. The writing is so far ahead of everything else on the radio that it forces every serious MC in New York to go back to their notebooks and start over.
I think they set the standard for any MC who aspires to be a lyricist without studying from the school of Eric B and Rakim. You're doing yourself a great disservice.
The Cold Cut remix crosses the Atlantic and turns a Queensbridge rap record into a UK club anthem. Paid in Full isn't just an album, it's a line in the sand between what rap was before Rakim and what it had to become after him. Follow the Leader drops in 1988 and somehow raises the bar he just set.
This record to me, and I'll take the Pepsi challenge with anybody, but this record contains the best verses ever written in hip hop. Like, to me, this is the pinnacle of hip hop writing.
The title track opens with follow me into a solo, get in the flow. And for 4 minutes, Rakim demonstrates a level of rhythmic control that makes the debut sound like a warm-up. If Paid in Full proved rap could be intelligent, Follow the Leader proved it could be musical in a way nobody had imagined. Then, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em lands in 1990. Darker, denser, the production matching the complexity of the writing for the first time. 3 albums in 3 years, each one better than the last, and nobody in the genre coming close to touching him. The partnership between Rakim and Eric B had always run on a simple division. Rakim writes the rhymes, Eric handles the business. Rakim has described him as the group's businessman, the one who sat in meetings and negotiated deals while Rakim stayed focused on the music.
Eric B was more like, I say, yo, I'm doing this on that. And he's like, yo, go ahead. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that was, cool about Eric B. He never tried to detour my thought or tell me what I should be saying on a record. You know what I mean? He left that totally up to me.
For 6 years and 4 albums, that arrangement worked perfectly. Eric opened doors. Rakim walked through them and changed the room. They needed each other, and both of them knew it. But by 1992, after Don't Sweat the Technique drops as their 4th and final album together, something between them shifts. Rakim's version of events is that they had a plan. He would record a solo album first, then Eric would follow with his own. A natural next step for 2 men who had already built a legacy together. But when Rakim tried to move forward, Eric B wouldn't sign the release paperwork. Without that signature, Rakim was contractually frozen. He couldn't record, he couldn't release, he couldn't do anything. The most gifted rapper in the world was locked out of his own career by the business partner he'd trusted since day one.
He wanted to do a solo album with him rhyming. And then they asked me to do one. Then after that, signals got real crossed, you know what I mean? Make a long story short, we just departed so it wouldn't be a lot of contract problems that I had to go through.
From 1993 to 1997, Rakim releases nothing. 4 years, no album, no solo records, no features, no music of any kind reaching the public. And these aren't 4 quiet years in rap. This is the exact window when the genre detonates. In 1994, Nas drops Illmatic and rewrites the blueprint for lyrical rap.
Illmatic might be the best piece of art ever made in hip-hop record.
That same year, Biggie drops Ready to Die and becomes the biggest name in New York. By 1996, Jay-Z releases Reasonable Doubt and starts building the empire that will define the next 2 decades of hip-hop.
I was trying to make music for guys who were in the street and living just like us, to have like a soundtrack to, the emotions that we were dealing.
Every one of these men studied Rakim's records. Every one of them built on what he created. And while they're taking what he pioneered and running it to the top of the charts, Rakim is sitting in silence. Not because he lost his talent, not because the culture moved past him, but because a piece of paper he couldn't sign wouldn't let him in the building. 4 years of his prime gone to paperwork. And then, in November 1997, after 4 years of silence, Rakim finally comes back. The 18th Letter, his first solo album. Nobody knows what to expect. 4 years is a long time in rap. Careers have started and ended in that window. The question hanging over the release is simple. Did people move on? The answer comes fast. The album sells more than 250,000 copies in its first 3 weeks and debuts at number 4 on the Billboard 200. The audience hadn't gone anywhere. They were just waiting. He follows it up with The Master in 1999, and for the first time in years, the career feels like it has real momentum behind it again. Then, in late 2000, an announcement lands that makes the whole hip-hop world stop. Rakim has signed with Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment. The greatest rapper alive and the greatest producer alive finally in the same studio together. For 2 years, the culture waits. Snippets circulate. Anticipation builds. Everyone who loves rap is holding their breath for what these 2 men are about to deliver together. And then, in 2003, Billboard reports the album has been shelved. Rakim has left the label. To understand why the album falls apart, you have to understand what each man wanted from it. Dre is coming off one of the most commercially dominant runs in rap history. The Chronic, Snoop, Eminem, 50 Cent, everything he touches turns into a crossover event. His formula works, and he knows it. Street energy, hard production, confrontational lyrics. That's the Aftermath sound, and he wants Rakim inside it. Rakim wants something different.
Example is, say if Dre say, yo, Rock, I want you to talk about killing somebody on this one. And I say, yo, nah, I wanted to talk about bringing somebody to life on this one. You know what I mean? You know, Dre got a formula, man. Dre been doing what he been doing for years. And, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And it just so happened that, you know, what I do is a little different from what Dre do.
He's been in the game since 1986. He's not interested in performing toughness or manufacturing beef to sell records. He wants to make something mature, something that reflects where he actually is as a man and as a writer. In interviews, he describes Dre repeatedly pushing him toward harder, more confrontational content, what Rakim calls wanting him to talk that, and Rakim keeps saying no. For 2 years, they go back and forth. The album gets recorded, scrapped, reworked. Neither man is willing to fully move toward the other. Eventually, Rakim makes the decision to walk away rather than release something that doesn't represent who he is. It is one of the most principled decisions any rapper has ever made, and one of the most costly. The Dre machine at that moment could have made Rakim a mainstream name for a whole new generation. He chose his integrity over that opportunity. The album sits in a vault somewhere to this day, and an entire generation of rap fans grew up never knowing it existed.
You think we'll ever hear any of those tracks that you guys made together, or is that in the vault?
Well, a couple of the joints was leaked out. You know what I mean? Some people already leaked a few of them out to the internet, but you know, you never know, man.
What follows is the loneliest stretch of Rakim's career. No major label, no Dre machine, no industry apparatus pushing his name. The 2000s reward spectacle, beef, and radio singles, none of which Rakim has ever chased. He performs live, shows up on features, stays connected through the underground. In 2009, The Seventh Seal drops, his first album in a decade. It lands quietly, but for the people who understand what Rakim represents, the man simply refused to stop, and he refused to get worse. In July 2017, something happens that nobody in hip-hop expected. Eric B. and Rakim announced they are performing together at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. The first time the two men have shared a stage in over 20 years. The same stage where Rakim won Amateur Night as a teenager. The same city where they recorded everything that changed rap. 20 years of silence, business disputes, and unresolved tension. And now they're back in the same room. The show sells out immediately. When they walk out together and launch into Paid in Full front to back, the crowd reacts like no time has passed at all. Every bar lands exactly the way it did in 1987. The verses that Rakim wrote in Marley Marl's apartment that started arguments about energy and delivery, that influenced every serious rapper who came after them, they still hit the same way 3 decades later. In May 2025, Johns Hopkins University awards Rakim the George Peabody Medal, one of the most prestigious honors in American music.
Y'all know I'm a nerd out on this one. Rakim has won a Peabody Award.
There's never been a hip-hop recipient until now, man. And Rakim got it this year, and if you don't understand how big that is for hip-hop.
I cannot think of a better person on so many levels to represent hip-hop at the table for the Peabody.
A kid from Wyandanch, Long Island, who got locked out of his own career for 4 years, who walked away from Dr. Dre rather than compromise a single bar, standing at a university receiving a medal that puts him alongside the most celebrated figures in music history. Then in February 2026, the Recording Academy announces Paid in Full as a 2026 Grammy Hall of Fame inductee. Nearly 40 years after it was recorded in Marley Marl's apartment, the same session where Marley wanted more energy and Rakim refused to change a thing, the album finally gets its formal institutional recognition. The labels that profited from it, the business disputes that froze it, the deals that fell apart around it, none of that stopped Paid in Full from becoming one of the most important records ever made. The culture always knew that. It just took the institutions 4 decades to catch up. I gotta keep it 100 with y'all. Rakim is the greatest rapper who ever lived. Not the most famous, not the most commercially successful, the greatest.
To me, greatness is not only how well you do something, but if you were the first to do it. So he did something that hadn't even been thought of yet.
Original.
Yeah, it was like, and he single-handedly pushed the genre forward to be more complex lyrically.
The craft, the intelligence, the way he changed what rap could be. Nobody has ever done what he did at the level he did it. And the tragedy of his story isn't that he failed, it's that the business kept finding ways to slow him down while his influence kept running ahead of everything they tried to put in front of it. He walked into Marley Marl's apartment in 1986, refused to sound like anybody else, and changed everything. 40 years later, he's still making music, still on his own terms, still unbothered. The greatest rapper you never heard of, except now you have. Check out our other videos and click on the boxes for more content. Till next time, peace.